Recently, Republican Representative Anthony Gonzalez said during an interview on cable news that Donald Trump should not only not be allowed to hold office in the future, but that if he runs again in 2024, he is likely going to try to steal that election. I agree with everything that this Republican representative has to say. And again, it's important to point out this is coming from a Republican. Although, in fairness, Anthony Gonzalez is in fact one of the Republicans who voted to impeach Donald Trump in the House, and he was then censured by local GOP chapters in his state of Ohio, and others called for his outright removal from office, because that's the way today's Republican Party works. If you don't love Donald Trump endlessly, completely, and wholly with every fiber of your being, you don't fit in, and they want you gone. And Gonzales, of course, has been the victim of that because he stood up and did the right thing this one time. But he is right. And in fact, he's not the only one warning us that Donald Trump is going to try to steal the 2024 election. This is part of the plan that Steve Bannon has put in place for the 2024 election and even possibly next year's midterms. He has been encouraging, Bannon has, his followers, his listeners, his supporters, whatever you want to call them, to run for election offices or to apply for those jobs so that they get to be the ones overseeing these elections. He's also encouraged them, of course, to run for school boards so they can really have a good control over what our kids can and cannot learn in school. But this is the new Republican strategy. You take things over at the local level, at the state level, and that way you get to control all of it. The steal, if you want to go ahead and call it that preemptively, that could take place in 2024 is already underway today. We have seen far too many Republicans who believe that the 2020 election was stolen be elevated to positions of power, over our electoral process already this year. And that's not going to stop. That is going to be a continuing thing that continues to happen because that's part of their new plan. This year, what we saw with Republicans, attempting to overturn here, recount here, audit over there, it was amateur hour, right? They were coming up with plans, but nobody had any kind of unified strategy on what to do. It was all willy-nilly. However they wanted to do it, they did it, and it didn't work for any of them. But they learned from their mistakes. They know now that in order to really control the vote, you have to control the entire process ahead of time. You can't go back and do it retroactively because people tend to notice. But if you can steal it in real time, whether it's by suppressing the vote, throwing out legitimate votes, trying to claim, the signature doesn't match, we got to get rid of it, restricting voting hours, cutting back on the number of polling places, which we're already seeing them starting to do, that's the way you steal it. And it all seems totally legit. And because we no longer really have any federal laws kind of controlling what happens in the states, it's allowed to happen. It becomes legal. And Republicans know that, and they're using it to their advantage. So when Gonzales says Trump is going to try to steal the 2024 election, he's not talking about committing massive voter fraud. He's not talking about Republicans somehow coming in and switching votes and tampering with machines. He's talking about rigging it from the start in ways that unfortunately are completely legal, because that is the Republican strategy today, and it's already underway.